interaction to get to know exactly what happened yesterday and what we're to expect today, and see how we can flow on from there. But it is very important opening prayer. Let's welcome him. Please put your hands together for him, please. Thank you.
Make the rise to appreciate this God who has given us life to be here today. Almighty and limitless God, we thank you, we bless you for the gift of life. We thank you for the journey program. Our Lord and our God, we do know that it is not an accident that you fix this program, but because you have a purpose to achieve. Therefore, most gracious Lord, just as a farmer goes into the bush, clears a portion, and plant a seed into the ground, and at the end, he gets a bountiful harvest. In the same manner, oh Lord, we are handing over this program unto your mighty hand, asking that at the end of this program, oh Lord, and our God, we that have come, everlasting Father, to grace your question, we pray that we benefit as well to your glory in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for answer to prayer. For we ask in Jesus' mighty name.
Amen. And we appreciate that, please. Thank you so much, sir. My name is Nelson. Seminar really is to, when I use the phrase, because very soon, I'll get that you know, educate us caring, be more effective and raising our children. I'm very careful children with special needs skip from my mouth, because yesterday we were deeply educated. Needs. We, the parents, are the one who have such learn and to educate ourselves on how to be better at raising our children to become what they are. And passion is, it is that every child can become the best he or she was created by God to be, whether with or without anything that our optical or physical eyes can see. It does not matter. And yesterday we had a very wonderful expose, if I may, by the other co-consultant. Today's event, please ask for the video. So that you will get all of those teaching. It is very, very important. By the way, I came all the way from the United States of Surulere. And when my aircraft was passing through Marshall Airport, I almost had a crash landing, but the Lord helped me. And then somehow I found myself in this auditorium. Now I feel very good now. At this time, I'd like to invite the senior consultant for Provo World Educational Consults, with whom I have this Antonia now.
Good evening. This organization is one that takes care of ensuring, takes care of the responsibility of ensuring that parents get their money's worth in the investment of education that they do on their children, and to ensure that the child gets educated in the best of environments possible. We believe children can learn on their own because God has given them a gift. Every one of us is created for a purpose. God never does. Somebody said it yesterday. I don't think maybe it was the MC who said, God never created, no, I think Mrs. Oyewo never created anything bad. Everything God created, he said, it is good. So our dear children are the best of gifts that we can have in any form he presents them. So what we do at Provo World Educational Consults is that we ensure that the God's gift is given the chance to be whoever he or she is supposed to be. barring all challenges. We are actually located. We are Nigerians working over there. I had to go there as a woman, submissive woman, with my husband. One of my parents said, "There's nothing I can do that which I know how to do, impart knowledge." I retired as a manager at the UBA. When I was leaving, my colleagues were asking because we were, released after some years. It's like we were given some severance package and we had to go. And people didn't want to go, but I felt it was time to move on. God wanted me to go and answer his call somewhere. So when my colleagues were cursing UBA, I was blessing UBA. I was telling them that UBA will be protected till the time when my children's children come to the people. And me, as a person, I'm coming to sit on the conference table with the biggest, with the owners of the CEO or the shareholders of UBA at one particular time. It's coming. Coat of many colors is taking it there. What we do actually when we started, my husband used to publish, he's still publishing, but it's online now. He publishes a Catholic laity magazine, the Beacon International Catholic magazine, and that was actually why we had to move, because the unstable light situation in Nigeria, fuel situation wasn't letting us perform, and the man was having issues, so we had to go. And that one I really have never regretted. It's very stable. So when we got there and we started publishing Beacon, we were doing book treats for children of the public schools. We were picking storybooks from the Ivy League schools, those who have the money, the rich schools, to bless children at the public schools. And we ensured we were not just giving the books away just like that. We had to make it write an essay competition. Those who win the competitions get the books alongside payments of their fees at times. So these children mostly were from fishermen children and all that. So the fisherman, even when his child is supposed to be writing his final exams, the fisherman might decide to go and enjoy somewhere or have a funeral party at the expense of his child's exams fees. And we would pick one or two that we can, not from any fund, from our own media fund. We started organizing interactions between the blind schools, the deaf schools, the physically challenged children's schools, so to say, and with children of the rich, and the children started seeing. I never knew that time that children didn't know people could be blind. That a child could be blind or somebody could be blind and still be active until we had those interactions. Those are the kind of things Pro World Educational Consult has been. And that was what gave birth to Pro World Educational Consult actually. So when I started my consultancy, we were working, I still do it, with these Ivy League schools, Montessori schools and all that. And also in attending to the children, we started seeing some revelations that children had difficulties at one point or the other in diverse ways that the parents couldn't understand. So even when you had to draw an individual education plan, that means a separate kind of lesson plan for the child, because that child might not be able to do social studies when they're doing social studies, or the child can even still do a bit of social studies, because at least that one is something that is a daily activity. But like your numbers, your maths, your writing, the child might not be able to do. You can find a JHS2 child not able to write a coat of many colors. Coat of many colors is an experience, like life experiences. My childhood experience, as a child, I too know there were, and each and every one, if I tell you, we give you the chance, you experience, you will be able to say, I had difficulties in school. My learning was not going the way it should be. I was not achieving optimal. Also, my experience as a scholar, as a child in the house, as a mother, as a teacher of children. That is us. And that is why we are here today. That if we get enlightened, if our needs as parents are met, then we can be able to help our gifted children. Gold comes raw. If you see gold on the ground, you won't know it is gold. You think it's just one rock, you pass by it. But those who know it, when they see it, they pick it, they polish it, they burn it, they do everything, and it becomes what? The gold you clamor for. It becomes invaluable diamonds and gold, precious. If we handle them well, any family that is able to handle the children well becomes richer in spirit, in wealth, and in abundance of grace. So welcome once again to the coat of many colors. Enjoy yourself.
I'm sure we can do a lot better than that. Come on now. That is passion that birthed why we are here today. This presentation we're to see now was done by some of our students in Accra, Ghana. Now, normally we would have had them, physically on stage, line up to present something with us. But we decided to bring to you a beautiful package that they did at a previous conference we had in Ghana. So please enjoy yourself as we watch the video. Thank you.
Gods are not to blame was one of do all that he can. Those are alumni too. Well, I'm presenting this lady, my young lady. She's about 18 years. She's Atalia. She is a child who suffers hydrocephalia, water in the brain, a lot of water in the brain. So she's unable to learn in the formal way. But Atalia is not useless. You can see her in her graduation gown. Although our proper sets, our age groups, normally these children start school late, you know that. But even with the set she was registered with, she stayed back 2 years after they had graduated. So last July she graduated, and Atalia didn't sit the BEC exams like you would expect, the junior WAEC, but she was taking through school life skills, prepared to be able to live a life and be confident of herself. That is what the school did for her. And that is what we should at times just be contented with. If I have a child who maybe for one reason or the other, which we'll be hearing today, the conditions that can cause this, I should not just feel the child is not going to be anybody. It's useless. No, God has not created any useless person. But I should know that I should equip the child for life. I used to say something to my teachers when I'm training. As we are in this hall now, if they ask us, we are all brilliant. No parent will tell any child that I was coming last when I was in school. Atalia cannot count her numbers at the age of 18. She cannot recite her alphabets. She can write her name this minute, remembering the next 10, 15 minutes, tell her to write it again, she can't. But Atalia is able to do her beads, and she's now a bead maker. She's aspiring to be an event decorator, especially she's going to be a florist, because when the mother is an event organizer, so when the mother is preparing for any event, Atalia is the one who helps her to arrange the bouquet. Very beautiful. When Atalia does the flowers for her, She says she doesn't know how she learns those colors. But when you see it, you are amazed. Natalia is living life. She's happy with herself. She knows what she wants to achieve for herself. I went to another guy, that's a 27-year-old man. He's a twin. That's his sister with him. The sister, they're 27-year-old, you know. The sister is a graduate of economics. She's married. She recently married. But my boy me can hardly, he can't say his words properly. But he's a copy typist, he's been groomed. He can work with his computers very well. He can import, he can take photographs and download them onto the computer. He can import pictures online. When he types, when he copy types for you, he's doing it right paragraph. You can see very good paragraphing, exactly the way the people. But when you go to business centers at times and some people type for you, the people will feel, oh, it's a regular human being, nothing is wrong. Friends have agreed they have to open up their own businesses for them. His father is a pastor. We've advised him to just open a small business center for him, and then he can employ one to the fullest. This is Akim Alabode. He's a Nigerian, but a Nigerian Ghanaian because the mother is a Ghanaian. Akim was one of my students. I taught him in primary 3. He's a child who has suffered seizure over time. And you will have him in class 10 while others are writing and, you know, seriously from the board. You just find out you are working. And that's why we tell teachers, when you are teaching, you don't stand in front of your children and keep on talking all the world away. You need to move around your children. Before you know it, it's asleep. I have another one, his classmate, that one is Travis. His own case is even worse than Akim's own. When Akim is sleeping, all I do is I give him some 10 minutes to sleep, and then I go rub his back. When he wakes up, he says, you have to copy something from the book for me. And he will copy. He's been at home. I went there and I asked Akim, what are you doing with your... Fortunately, they were able to take him through secondary school. They have the money. I think he got at grade 35 or something. When they were to sit their BEC, these are children that, you know, schools compete. Some schools will tell you, we don't take, it's 100% pass. No child has called that they are fooling themselves. Look at your fingers. Can the fingers be the same? If a school tells you all my children pass, know that they are only passing. They are only taking children who they don't need, children who don't need their help. It's not possible. A child who has aggregate 15 can be better than a child who has aggregate 6. I'm telling you, in life. He was a carpenter. He had money. He was trained as a carpenter, so it's not like his English can't even. So we came to work for us in our house one day. He wanted to do a wardrobe for us. When the man came in, I was measuring the space. My husband and the man said, I heard that I finished. That is like daddy. That I finished. And he was at the door. And my husband said, this man, when he gets to his shop, he will call me back. When he got to his shop, where he can do the practical thing, he was putting it. Then he called, and then he was laughing. But was the richest man in our church at that time. We want to do anything, it's Brother Philip. You want to do it, it's Brother Philip. Do you measure success by what you did in school? No. When you were at school? No. So Akim said, when I went to his house, Akim, who couldn't really do his 3-letter words, by maturity now, can spell his words without. I was dictating what I wanted him to write for me, and he could spell it without. It only needs extra time. You can see his artwork. How many of us can read that one? But but like we are saying, parents or adults around these children don't really see much to their lives. So it's like you don't have to, on the day where to have this present, that's Akim's drawing in this book that we are going to show you later, a memory book day. I facilitated, when I taught them in primary 3, we went on a field trip to the school for the blind, and we wrote a memory. It's a composition we wrote in class, a shared writing composition, and the children wrote the story, they edited it, the illustrations in the story is theirs, and every child took his pocket money, brought in the pocket money, we put them together, and they paid the publisher. So what you see, that's it. And the walking stick and the ball, the special ball for blind person. That is what you do. There are better people with their brains in the classroom who don't do and enjoy. So after him having his gallery, these children can be productive if we give them the right support. That's my photograph. Akim is the one. This is Akim. Yeah, thank you. That's Akim in primary 3. And that's the other guy. That's myself. That's Travis. This one now, that's the one I said has serious issues. When I met him, when he comes into class, he came in about 3 weeks after the school had resumed for the session. When he comes in, he carries his bag like this. When it's break time, he doesn't talk to anybody. He picks his lunch box. So I have to go and meet the headmistress. I said, I have a boy in my class. Since he entered the class, 1 week now, he has not spoken to anybody. They come, they drop him. He sits in class, he sleeps. He doesn't sleep. But he doesn't talk to anybody. He goes for lunch, comes back, sits. Then I was told, a child who has suffered from he has the problem of epilepsy and it's really damaged his brain. So what did I start doing? I saw he was educable. You only have to give him time. Whatever the others did, if you give him. When I was teaching English, when teachers saw that he was performing, I had Travis's book to show on open day. But they never have anything to show. Then, when on open day, the parents saw English, we had about 8 books for English. And said, Mr. Alabi, you don't know, this is you are the one who's known. So every lesson, you will help us so that Travis can have something in his book. So I was reading to Travis for every lesson. If it is math, have the, a certificate in graphics. They have one. So he went to his certificated school and he got a certificate for graphics. He's now a graphic artist. These are children that people ordinarily will say cannot achieve. They are achievers. Program. This guy. The photographs we took at that program, he was a photographer. Is he useless? If somebody can come to your wedding with his camera and take pictures, is it not for you to pay him? So far is it. So I present my children to you. The book is here. These are evidence. So later, please, you will pick one for, give us something, bless us. Let me finish. Before you go, everybody must pick a copy so that you can really show to people. And you can also demand these kind of things from your children's school, but you have to cooperate. When they ask you to bring up money, it's not only when you...
I think we can do a lot more better for her than that. Frankly speaking, one of the things I've realized is that you devote extra time. You have to be called and passionate to do that. And so, Mrs. Alabi, we appreciate you for doing this and for allowing us to share in what God has given to you. At this juncture, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the program is moving quite faster than I even thought today. What we're having is simple expose on the fact that every child is special. I believe we're all children, right? It could be a 30-year-old child, it could be a 60-year-old child. Can you touch yourself and just say, I'm special? Yeah, I'm really special. And the person to take us in this nice time is the co-consultant for Promo World Educational Consult, the beautiful, wonderful, fantastic husband of this man, our chairman, Promo World's chairman. Please put your hands together for
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As a practitioner. And then, above everything else, this is what I know. I am sure that if we are going to enjoy this discussion, we should go through a little bit of my judgment. Assuming each and every one of us here could not read ABC at the age of 9. Imagine at the age of 12 not being able to read a sentence or a word. And then going through life up to the age of 60, struggling to read. And the most unfortunate part of it is to be born in a country where it's said to be a land of opportunities. I think we all agree that that is a very big challenge. Going by Nigerian standards or by parent standards, that kind of person would have been called an underachieving child. Well, as bad as the situation was, this same person, for these attributes that I have mentioned, are those that are the characteristics of one of America's presidents, which meant from 0 to president, from underachiever to president, from the person we will call illiterate or with learning disabilities to become a president. I thank you all for coming here this evening. And you probably will have been thinking, why would they call the program a coat of many colors? The reason why we chose that name is because we want to relate what we do to what majority of us have heard one time or the other. Almost everyone, I believe, have heard the story of Joseph in the Bible, in Genesis. And it was said that his father Jacob loved him so much out of all his children and gave him a coat that had many colors. Ladies and gentlemen, each and every one of us who happens to be a member of the family is one of the colors in that family's coat. We cannot take the father away from the family, so it's part of the colors. The mother too is part of the colors. The children are part of the colors. But each and every special child that has one form of challenge or decided to delve a little bit deeper to try and see why, if it were right or just for a man God loved so much, and even of giving the coat that had many colors to his youngest child. In the African context, it is an abomination. You do not give what is right of the first child to the last. And imagine, this same man had more than one wife, which meant there would have been a lot of trouble. But at that time, when Joseph was born, people in Israel had hope because some of them wanted to protect themselves from the cold weather. Those who were a little bit affluent were able to buy a different type of fabric, like we have Atiku, we have Guinea and all that, and make their coat on it. But it was very uncommon for people to have a coat that had so many colors, which meant it was extraordinary. It was special. And then, by inference, it was likely to be very expensive. But we discovered along reading that there were two major reasons why Joseph was honored with that coat. The first thing was that this child was born in his old age, which meant even by our regular standards now, he probably would have been like a grandfather or a great uncle to his own son. Then why? In Africa, everybody would say the woman was not worth it. Yes, and at the end of the day, she cannot produce. So having a child in there, and that was why he decided that the best thing he could offer was the best that he had. But just like the program we are having, every child is special. Apart from the circumstances of his birth, he was given the gift of dreams. And that gift of dreams and the coat that his father gave him was his own doing. It was part of the whole scheme that would make a covenant that was made with Abraham come true. But it was coming with a lot of challenges, just like the same children that we call underachievers. Take for example, if a boy who had a coat, and because of that, the elderly wanted to get rid of him. We have had instances in Nigeria where parents have been advised to. We have had instances where they have been told, don't waste your time on this one because, oh, Nigeria. Even the ones that are not as bad as that, in the individual families, you will hear them saying, well, I'm not back with them. Because we have killed him until Reuben said, no, don't let us kill him. We might as well do something better. Let's throw him into a pit. Of the one. It would have been the same kind of thing that we can translate. To mean any kind of challenge to somebody, it could be blindness, it could be any form. It is a problem, that's the issue. Then they discovered that there were traders who were going to pass by. And they said, okay, why don't we just sell him into slavery? We know quite a number of people who have given up their children so that they will not be a form of embarrassment to them. Some are giving them away with the hope that the children will die somewhere else. And there are some who have decided to abandon those children was supposed to be manifested. His gift of dreams and all that he was telling his people that they were going to bow down before him, which created the problem that sent him into exile, so to say, came true at the end of the day. Our own analogy of this is this. If he went through all that, when in his own land, he was already, let me say, he was already sentenced to death. That is part of the reasons why the special children require our understanding. Assuming the brothers had looked at it, that okay, it could be any one of us. But if this covenant with Abraham says that our generation will bring forth kings and leaders, I would be happy to be the brother of the king. Why would you not want to kill the king? Because if you kill the king, then automatically you can't be the brother of the king. The same thing is happening. If you cannot support our children, who because of one stroke of nature or God's plan are not exactly what we have in mind, then I think we ourselves are the ones who have a problem. Ladies and gentlemen, is it possible for every one of us in this room, assuming each and every one of us we are doctors, would it be possible for us to have anybody to sew clothes for us? Would we be able to have anybody play music that we would want to listen to? Would we probably have somebody setting up the tables here so that we can be inside this hall? Those are the things that we need to keep at the back of our minds when we have to deal with children. From a box of candy, you never can tell what you get. Most of us get different things. Some work out well, some don't. And some of us are being further tested than others. I cite myself as an example. If anybody were supposed to be an underachieving child, I probably would have been one. At the age of 2 years. This was a time when most children were still sucking on their mother's breast or getting cuddles. I went through all that and ended up going into secondary school, and it was a boarding house. I left Lagos and went to the boarding house at Christ Surulere. At the time I got there, I was 9 years old. I could not carry a bucket, but that was the first time in my life that I realized that people have to go to the stream to fetch water. By the time I got married, I had a set of twins. One was normal, the other was normal. One would do things the regular way, the other would do it the irregular way. We'll continue from here shortly.
Thank you so much. I was actually waiting for that. the chairman would come back to complete that very expository discussion. At this juncture, I'd like to call some distinguished personalities amongst us this evening to the high table for the purpose of discussing a few things. Again, let me invite the chairman, please, to take his place beside his beautiful wife. Please, now we welcome Mrs. I'd like to also bring to the platform Mr. Adefe. Mr. Adefe is a teacher trained to teach the specially gifted child. Please, let's put our hands together for him. I'd like to also welcome Dr. Oshodi. He is a child and youth mental health doctor. Oh, she? Oh, forgive me. You're welcome. Okay, now we're also supposed to have Dr. Yawande. Oh, she's the one? Sorry, Dr. Teddy, but he's not here. So at this juncture, I'd like to hand the microphone over to the senior consultant as this session is. And second, and welcome Mrs. Pio and attention as she also takes the place on the platform. You're welcome.
With us, it's something you will enjoy, so we won't cut it off. We will come back to it. Dr. Oshodi is a child and youth mental health doctor. Am I right? Yes. Practitioner. Yes. It's heavy for me to say. I don't know if people want to say it. She's a child and adolescent psychiatrist. People don't like to hear that. Do we? Madam, if I tell you that, please, as psychiatrist and speak to Yaba about how would you enter the place? Tell me how you will enter. With your child, you are coming with your child. Ẹ máa gbẹ̀gbẹ́. Ẹ máa gbẹ̀gbẹ́, ẹ máa ṣọ́. Ẹ máa wọ ẹ̀yìn bóyá ọmọ bá gé mi jẹ. Ẹ̀yìn kọ́ máa gé yìí jẹ okay. Now, madam, if you are asked to bring your child, we have a meeting. I'm supposed to meet you. You are supposed to meet me. But I'm asking you to come to Yaba Psychiatric Hospital and you are having your boy with you. How would you come in?
To start with, I think I'll leave my child at home. Come alone.
That's the child we are going together. We are going to the child's school or to work with you. And you have to bring the child with you.
Well, I'll be cautious.
Why?
Because I know that they have people that are mentally challenged there, though they are put in the world, but you know, at times you can have an escapee. So one has to be careful. Thank you.
I'll first be looking at, when somebody tells me, meet me there, I'll say, which part of the gate? Or can't you come out and let us meet around maybe one snack bar there? I wouldn't want to go to Yaba. And if I have to go, I'll start looking. The impression I had, only any toba losi apa the person has something. So the moment your neighbors, maybe your neighbor is driving past and sees you entering, when the person gets I saw how that child do. And you know that the way that boy has been behaving. So we don't know that boy had a problem. You see? So for me it was difficult, but it is the truth. She is a child and adolescent psychiatrist. We need to see her more, not because we are mad or our children are mad, but for them not to be, for them to be successful. Doctor, can you just give us a brief? I know you're in a hurry, but We just got her 2 days ago. If you know the waka, don't waka. I can't tell you. To get this woman, it is just God's doing. So, hallelujah to God. Say it again. Hallelujah. Yes. And thank you, Dr. Bob. And she just, on one, just opted for it. Just opted for it. She runs an NGO, actually. Please, Doctor, what's the name of it?
Our NGO is called Mind Trust. And that's something I just do by the side, apart from other things I do. I work in youth, I'm a lecturer in the university. But because mental health is so important, and this kind of reaction that we've seen this evening, what a lot of people think. And unfortunately, it's the wrong impression. And it is called stigma. Stigma is what makes us afraid of what we don't understand. And at times, what it does is it makes us unwilling to get help when there's need for help. So I think forum like this, meetings like this, opportunities to ask your questions and have clarification, because every one of us knows somebody that needs to see a psychiatrist. And when we say psychiatry, it's not naked people on the street eating from the dustbin. There are so many issues. At times we are worried, we're sad, we're anxious, we're depressed. And just having someone to talk to. And many of these things are treatable. There's medicines, and people can become normal. The same way someone can have hypertension and take their medicine, nobody will know. Someone can have a mental health problem that is maybe just depression and anxiety, and you take your medicines, and nobody will know you've ever suffered it before. So change will start with all of us here, understanding that this stigma about emotional illnesses are illnesses that are treatable. At times, yes, some people may need to treat it for a long time, that's fine. After all, people treat their hypertension for many years. I mean, or does hypertension ever disappear completely? For some people, they treat it for years. Diabetes also never completely disappears. If they're diagnosed, you may need to take treatment. And that's fine, okay? So it's nice, I must commend our chairman.
Things that, or conditions that can cause learning disorders or cause a child to be learning disabled.
Thank you very much. Now, at times, children or young people, we find that in school they are not doing well, or a child just cannot learn. And unfortunately, teachers that don't have the kind of, either say the child is lazy or stubborn or cannot learn, whereas there could be other things that the child is struggling with. And it's nice for us as parents. It may not be for your own child. Now, I see many of us, maybe we don't have young children again. It can be for someone else's child. This information, we let them know that, some children are born with challenges. Challenges such as, intellectual disability. That means that their IQ is slightly lower than what you expect for that age. Most of us will have average IQ, that means intelligence. Okay, that's an intelligence quotient. For some children, for whatever reason, their IQ may be slightly lower. Now, depending on the level, it doesn't mean they cannot learn. It means that they will learn a bit slowly. When you compare them to people their age, they may be delayed. But they will learn that the teacher is patient with them. They didn't choose to have those problems. And some of those problems come with learning disability. That means they will be unable to learn, or their learning will be slow. Remember, when I say IQ, it doesn't mean everybody that has low IQ cannot learn. Depending on the level of IQ, some of them are educable, that means they can be educated. Some may not be educable, but they can be trainable. They can have skills, they can learn skills. So the reason why this is important is that parents will now be expecting that this child must become professor. This child must become, this child may be the best artist, like we've seen from the testimonials of the alumni. And they can be drawing, they can do different things with their hands, okay? Some children are born with other, problems. They don't choose it. So by the time they come with it, we know that the responsibility is on us to provide the suitable learning environment for them. And as parents and caregivers, when you go to schools, to let the teachers know that every child is different. The responsibility of the school to find a way to teach that child. It may not be the traditional way, like we learned that in some schools there will need to be special educational groups. So we mentioned, genetic problems, intellectual disability. Some children have other, biological problems or challenges at birth that could resulting in some damage to the brain function, like complications at delivery, which can actually leave some damage in the brain. Or when in Yoruba land they say everybody will be happy. But when you maybe 5 years down the line, when the child should sit, the child is not sitting. The child should walk, the child. We said 5 years ago. Everybody has forgotten that there was a little injury. That is speech and other things, and that may result in the child not learning. Did that child choose to be like that? No. So the pregnancy, and the delivery is as smooth as possible, so that we don't have problems that we are cooking for later. So at times, problematic delivery can also result in some kind of seizure problems, intellectual disability, cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy doesn't control, but their brain is working on, but it's just that they have motor problems because of that complication at birth. But those children are learned also. And remember, they are special in the sense that they need special attention from you and I to help them to fulfill what God has destined to be their own fullness, okay? Full potential. They may never be professors, and that's okay. Everyone cannot be a professor. But the purpose for their being on earth, despite that challenge, there's a purpose for each person. There are other disorders, like autism spectrum disorder. That's another one. These children are born, they look essentially normal like most children, but they're slightly odd. They keep to themselves, they don't play with other children, they may not have language, they may be arranging support from the parents and from the school can help that child to get there. They are the ones that will be disturbing the class. They will not sit still. It's like they're spinning their bum, jumping up and down the place. Some of them are hyperactive. When we don't recognize, they say that child is stubborn, because I like one. Pick the child. Whereas the child just is struggling to keep still and pay attention. Or with a knowledgeable parent who has got to read about it, even the way you treat the child at home, can assist the child to learn how to cope better. And the list is ended. Depression, anxiety. Children also have these things. I hope you know. In case you didn't know, please know. A child can be in school, has been doing well, year 1, year 2, and suddenly something happens, the child becomes depressed in year 3, and the grades start going down. And we don't know what's going on. Or mommy and daddy are fighting at home, and we don't know that it's affecting the child. So these are things, it's not like fever or stomach ache, but these are things that can make children sick and make them not fulfill their maximum potential in schools. Let me pause there. Just
when is the time to see a doctor? When is the time to see a doctor? In all the issues, the cases, conditions, when?
Now, Nigeria is unique, okay? In other parts of the world, there will be a system that will be following up these children from childbirth and will have flagged, this child, let's check this child and refer. The health system is set, structured properly. But here, you need a parent that is attentive, that is observant, or a teacher that is also observant and can suspect that, what I'm seeing in this child. And what we need to do as parents is not to say, leave my child alone. It's to listen to the teacher and based on that collaborate and say, okay, where do we go? Who do we talk to? Like at my trust, what we do when we go to schools, we particularly go to school and talk to teachers. It's like, when you notice a child is struggling, invite the parent. Enlighten the parent that this may be what's going on. Why don't we refer you to an expert that can have a review? There may not be anything, but it's better to be safe than to be sorry. It's better to err on the side of caution. A child isn't doing well, a child is always fighting in school, or is keeping to himself, or that child may require an assessment. And by the time you grow, it may be as simple as, the child is being bullied in school. That may actually result in, or it may be that the child is depressed, or the child has any of these conditions. So I think once you suspect and you're worried about your child, find out what's going on in school also, and then by the time you ask where I can go to, eventually you get a referral. When you talk to your GP, your regular doctor, I think there's an emotional problem. Who can we talk to? Most people like to say, won't say psychologist. Sorry, a psychologist is not a medical doctor, just so that we know. But a psychologist can give counseling, okay? A psychiatrist is a medical doctor who can also prescribe medication and give counseling.
It's like I have so much to ask because by asking, we can get it. You said parents. I want to ask, what's your observation about parents that you have met? Who maybe as a fact, on the assessment, do we do the diagnostic assessment? Do people assess to do? You wonder.
My observation I've been in psychiatry now over 10 years, I've been a doctor over 20 years. So my observation is oftentimes parents do not accept it's compulsory. Things are really bad. Sometimes people leave it till last minute. From some of the research that we've done and my colleagues have done, we find out that most of the kids that come to see us in child psychiatry, either they've gone around to church differently before they come. And that is back to our stigma and our explanatory models. Because when you see a child with an emotional person, aye, enemy, or that. True or false? Actually, why you want them? And what happens is that so they will have gone around, shopped around. So when Mr. Abisai said mental psych, is the same, everybody, psychiatrist, I don't imagine, let me go somewhere. So denial is a huge problem. And it is this stigma. So my own mandate and my plea to you all today, you leave this place, here and now, educate someone else out there. I heard something new this evening. Don't let us be part of the problem, let us be part of the solution. Let people know that these children can get help. Even us adults can get help. And it's okay. It doesn't make you less of a Christian, it doesn't make you less of a Muslim. It doesn't make you less of a believer. It just means that, okay, if you have a fever, should we go and treat malaria? Simple. So if there's an emotional problem, there is a treatment. I know our environment, so denial is oftentimes a problem that makes parents not want to come. And parents also feel that maybe teacher is trying to just label your child, so they'll change the school. Now some schools, yes, they may be right to change the school, but then it's good to follow through, just to be sure that there's something really there that we can do to help your child, rather than deny and wait until the problem is several times over. I've seen, these are very educated parents that I've seen, that they say, oh, actually, if I was in the UK, this child, someone said, your child is said that the answer. I've seen this child almost 5 years, 7 years after that first time someone had mentioned it didn't, well, as if they had made the problem in the body then, what we're seeing today would have not been as bad. So delay can be very expensive.
And then I will pick two questions for parents on the floor.
Most of our parents have a feeling that a child is the responsibility of the school. And because of that, most of the time, they fail to actually be able to help the school when their children need medical attention one way or the other. In your practice, have you come across situations like that where the buck is being passed, the school is blamed, somebody is blamed, and when the parents are actually supposed to seek this medical help, they really want to help the doctor misdiagnose them. Don't tell me my child has it. It must be something else.
Well, I think it's back to this denial thing that I said before. It's not an easy news. You understand? For someone to break the news to you that, there's this problem wrong with your child, especially when there's stigma and one thing that I tell teachers, that it's okay. Just let us be sure that we're telling parents the truth. At times, the parents may need to hear that truth in 4 different schools before they are said, they told me here, and they told me here, and they told me here. So that's why parents need see themselves as partners with the school to find the right solution for their children's learning needs. For example, at times parents push, my child must be a science student, whereas the child's strength is in arts. So listening to the teacher, listening to the feedback, we can collaborate, we must be partners with our teachers to get the best out of the children. Now, I'm a parent also, so I understand, that at times we want certain things, but we must be willing to learn. There's a lot to learn from the teachers that we interact, rather than put up barriers that can hinder the treatment of our children. So I don't know if that answers the question, but that's in summary what I'm saying.
On the floor, is there anybody who would like to ask?
Yeah, actually, some of us were blessed to enjoy this program from yesterday. So mine will be flowing from yesterday to today. We have two beautiful girls here. My dear, and we are lucky to have Dr. Hill. We are seeing these two things that they are we looking at them physically? Yeah. One is obvious that our baby is one of the blessed children. I would call them my children. And if you look at her, so she's looking different from her. She's 12, she's 16. We want to look for solutions to our problem. Most of us here are mothers. We had a chat with our doctor that has been working in, and they only have 13 teachers. So it's ratio 13 to 453. Sorry, doctor, I'll take your time from. But we want you to educate us, because we have heard that some are you can educate some you cannot educate. Some we have seen from the thing we watched that some can even be creative. This is a girl that is 16. Her neck she's even pretty. You can see that she's pretty. Very pretty. Abike? Yeah. Abike can hold a pen. Abike can do so many things. So is Grace. We saw Grace walk yesterday.
She was jotting down the things she was saying on the...
But their problem is two different problems. But we now found out that these kids that we say we want to help, that we have schools, existing schools for, are good together. The problem is in stages. I want Dr. to enlighten us, because why we are here is to start a school and to train teachers for different levels of this challenge. This girl now is in the same school with some kids that cannot sit down, some kids that cannot hold their pen. Are you getting me? She's holding her pen and she's sitting up, and so is her, but their problems are different. Doctor will know the medical, whatever. I'm asking and I'm pleading now. I'm trying to make a point. Why are they putting these kids together? From what I've learned here, if she's in a regular school or a semi-regular school, when she's watching her mates doing something, that thing she's trying to do, I think she will do it better or faster. Doctor, why are they grouped together? Because now these schools are existing. This problem has been there, it's not 40 years. Why are they being grouped together in the same school as if the problem is the same thing? Thank you. And I still have questions. First one.
I think that question deserves an applause, please. That's an intelligent question.
It's such an intelligent question, and it's a sore question. It's a heart-rending question, because we find ourselves in a very, very difficult environment. I mean, health is one thing. I'm sure there are so many issues with Nigeria. You can all complain. I don't need to teach you. You can see all the things. So what she has just described is the pain concerning special needs in Nigeria. And this is Lagos. Just imagine other parts of the country. There's even nothing in those places. Modupeko is a place where you have different levels of children with different needs and diagnoses. They are making effort to do something. Unfortunately, they are so under supported, and that is just one place. Many other places are not even doing anything like that. It is a challenge of funding. It is a challenge of government will. It is a challenge of advocacy. Each of you sitting here, you are just 7 steps away from the President of Nigeria. What I mean is that there are 7 people between you. There's something called the 7 degrees of separation. Between you and someone that has a deep pocket, that can set up a school that will make the right impact. Just a few people. We need to go away with the burden in our hearts. What can we do to help these schools? Now, some people, because it's expensive. Modupeko is one of the cheaper places, you know, and that's why many people just go there. Some people even just abandon their children. I'm sure there are a lot of abandoned kids there. Now, for some parents that have a little bit of means, what they do is they'll put their children in a regular school and have a facilitator go with the child. For example, Abike, what's her name? No, I'm talking about Abike. No, sit down, sit down. Is it Abike? Yes. She's in a regular school or not?
No, she's with Modupeko.
Okay, so maybe I don't know. Okay, I don't know what I'm even talking about Abike, because Grace, you can even see clearly she has downs, you know, so that's clear. But Abike, on the surface, apart from, you know, her facies and all that, she can pass for, and I don't know what the level of her IQ, but all things being equal, she can hold a pen. With a facilitator, if there was enough means, she could go to a regular, but you know, when these people call the amount they will collect, it's expensive. How many people can sustain it? So it is up to yourself and myself to keep talking about it, to keep advocating for these schools. So, ma'am that asked the question, I can't see you. So yes, the kids are bundled together because we don't have enough of hands to cater to their needs. We don't have, when I say we, I'm talking for the government too. Okay, they didn't send me. I'm just trying to say, maybe that's why. Maybe they, let me say they. Okay, I'm a government worker also. But they don't have enough hands. They haven't thought about providing the service. In other places, there's something called inclusive learning, where in every regular school, you have a special ed unit. So you don't need to have a separate center like Modupeko. Every regular school have a special education class for the issues of this stigma, discrimination, ignorance. These are the things that are blocking the way of these things being put on.
This forum is to educate us that the world is clamoring, to inform us, let us know, the world is clamoring for an all-inclusive educational system, whereby Grace can sit at the fountain school. See, Abike can be at, let me call Price Step School. Any private school or any public school can take these children. So it is now, while we are bringing that information to you, it is now, like Doctor is saying, for us as parents to start working. Whatever the government should request from, or whatever the government should even provide in their own schools, which they have started in Nigeria gradually, but to call also the private schools to put these things in place. If a child is on a wheelchair, it doesn't mean the brain is dead. So if that child's parents have the money to send their child to a private school, the school might not be able to take the child because of the way the school is structured. There's no way the child will drive his wheels through the corridor of the school. These are things that we have to start doing. We have some proprietors amongst us. Some of us are willing to start school. Know that when you are now starting, these are things you should be thinking of. Now, to the fact that why are we not having enough, what are we doing about the schools? I want to inform you, a lot of the very good schools already are having an all-inclusive system. But the problem is parents are not supportive. I can vouch for that because as an educational consultant, I work with the schools who willingly, not all of the proprietors. But you have a lot of the proprietors who are willing to take up these children. But the parents are the ones who kind of limit the success that we could have achieved. That means learn how to read and write. The child can be in Form 2, but the child by age is in Form 2, but he cannot read or write properly. All he needs is some few lessons. And these things at times is not because of the grade. At times it is because of the kind of schools you have put your child. You understand? Some of us, we change schools. The child is here, fees want to put you on, increase fees on. They did an increase last time. I'm taking a child to this school. People move children from school as if they are changing your handbag. These affect children. So the child might not get the proper grounding, and now it is reflecting when the child is in the higher school. So those are some of them. Doctor, we have to release you. It's 7 o'clock. Any questions? One more.
God bless you. Please, I want to ask 2 questions concerning this my son.
Can we meet him?
Yeah. Since he was born, although conversion suffered him when he was a child, and that thing is still used to do him once in a year since he was an adult now. But I have taken him to Yaba after the brain test. They told me that his skull is smaller than his brain. I want to ask, that one no get solution. My second question is, when I took him to St. Dom's school, they did not allow him. They told me to take him to Ikeja Secretariat.
You mean that syndrome foundation?
Yes. They gave me a form to take him to Ikeja Secretariat.
Secretariat?
Yes.
They told you to take her to
Take him.
Ikeja Secretariat.
Is it Down syndrome issue?
That government.
Down syndrome.
Which school did you take him?
That's at allowance.
Yes.
Yes.
Surulere here.
No,
they are not allowance. They are in Masha.
No, allowance.
What's the name of the school?
Sindo.
Atuda is here.
It's Down syndrome foundation.
And then the street.
Is it
Okay. I'm not saying this is money.
Is it not allowance?
This is Rosemont. It's not allowance. It's a Masha here. Now Rosemont is the president. That's the National Foundation. They didn't accept him.
Yes, they give him form.
What?
Take him to Ikeja Secretariat. That the government is taking care of this group. After assessing him, so now that Ikeja I'm taking him to 3 weeks now. So Ikeja people told me to repeat on September. They give us form and video him
So what have they been doing for him since you started taking him to that secretariat and the agent? What did they do for him since you began to take him go there?
Since he was born.
No. You said they tell you can't go secretariat.
He cannot understand.
Since you can't go that secretariat, now waiting those people for that secretariat, they do give the child.
At the secretariat, what child?
They told me to ready to by this September. They never come.
They never do anything yet.
Only last
Let me, doctor. Please sit down now. Sit down now. Now, since he was born, we take him to Yaba, and he was having this seizure problem. Now, remember what I said, that at times some children could be born, and during the delivery there can be complications, or there can be other genetic problems that it's not as soon as the baby is born that you will see it. It may be later as the child is growing. And you say, this child is having this convulsion, he's having this problem, he's not talking, he's not doing all those things. Now that may suggest that there is a damage to his brain.
And at times those damages, you cannot erase it again. You understand? So that's why we're having the problems that we're having. That he's not learning, he's not as he should be for his age. And you can see he's small, okay? Even the brain size is small. If you compare our head size to his own, you can see that it's small for his age. That means that the brain is not even maturing as it should mature. Now it would be unfair to expect this boy to learn the same way like some other people. So he needs a special setting that can provide education for him. So you ask the question, is it reversible? I don't think so. The damage that has been there, with God all things are possible, but it doesn't mean that he cannot still learn something. And that's probably what all those other things are about. But I wanted to also correct something. I don't know too much about Down Syndrome Foundation. I know something, you may know a bit more. But some of these places, sorry ma'am, they are specialized for certain conditions. So it's not everywhere that every child can fit. You understand? And because the sad thing is that because we are not very organized with ourselves, you don't know where to go. I know that's a huge problem for parents. There's Down Syndrome Foundation, there's CDC, there's Modupeco. Where do we go? So we need to ask and allow them to guide us whether the child is okay there or there's somewhere else they can refer. Okay? So Down Syndrome Foundation, because he doesn't have Down syndrome, he doesn't have the fishness. So he may not be a right fit for that place, okay? And that's probably what we were saying. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
One of my questions again.
Ma'am?
One of my questions again.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm doubting that type of habit. This my son, he can talk, he can go message.
That was where I was going.
He can speak
That is where I was going.
broken,
Yes.
but he cannot be able to
Good.
write.
So that means that he has something we can build on.
He's good for 18 years.
That's what Madam is going to talk about here.
That's why I want to.
She's going to explain why that secretariat
But if
is good.
you give me money to go and buy something,
You will go.
you will go.
That's
and
good.
buy that thing. The thing you sell.
And your change will be
But
complete.
to change, to give a change, they can cheat him.
Okay. Okay.
Eh?
Good. But that's
And
good
to learn
observation.
work, he's not
Let me, madam,
Eh?
you see, yes, ẹjọ tí obìnrin madam sọ̀rọ̀ ọmọ wọn, we want to quickly do a translation. Madam béèrè lọ́wọ́ wa wípé àwọn ti mú ọmọ àwọn káàkiri, ó ti change the school, ó dẹ̀ ti pé, is how old is he now? 18 years. But your son, how old is he? That is what I want to say. So he at school, she has changed him. Ó ti mú káàkiri. But what I want to say is pé kọ́mọ ìtẹ̀ lè ṣe nǹkan gidi kankan kò lè kàwé. Nǹkan tẹ́mi dẹ̀ fẹ́ wá sọ fún wọn, I will say it in a way you are. Every ọmọ tí mo fi hàn yín pé ọmọ 27 years old kò lè ka 1, 2, 3, kò lè ka ABC, kò dẹ̀ lè kọ orúkọ ara ẹ̀ dáadáa. Ọjọ́ mi ó lè rántí akọ tó bá wọn fi dẹ́nu ọ̀nà bẹ́ẹ̀ tẹ́ bá pè padà kò lè kọ, ṣùgbọ́n lẹ́nìí is a photographer. Èmi yìí ni mo ní gbogbo school yẹn, that's what I do. You see, for some of for my schools that I consult with, actually I try. I started tending towards that. It wasn't. I was drawing curriculum for the whole school, but when I started seeing the problems of the children, and in order to give back, the parents pay fees just the way others pay fees. If you haven't paid, they send your child out for having not paid. Even the child that is not writing anything, then you have to come back because the parents do not have where to keep these children. You understand? They can't keep them at home. So, that boy, the photographer, for 2 years when his mates graduated, he was sitting at home. His mother is in the UK, the father is a pastor in Ghana. When the mother came for a holiday, the boy was filled with rashes. He was smelling. They have money. And the woman had to come and beg the school that, please, even if it is just for him to come and sit. The father's problem is, you told us you are going to perform magic. He's a pastor. When I brought this child here, they told us they are performing magic and we can't see the magic. And they take school fees from us. He's not even appreciating that the boy is learning how to live with fellow human beings. He's learning how to put himself together. He can eat with the public at the canteen. He can laugh with his friend. He can do things like your son can do. But what we had to do was to tell the computer teacher of that school, we have looked at what can the boy do, what does he like doing. And we found out that he's always playing with the computer gadget at home. So that was why I said, I want to ask you, what do you know your child likes doing? If you as a parent cannot observe, it is not easy for the teacher to actually observe it amongst many. You see, even when the teacher is saying it's not strong enough. So we as parents, what do you know your child loves, enjoys doing, and can do? Then they told us he likes playing with the computer. So that was how we picked up the computer. There is a boy that the only way he can count his numbers is when he sees cars. He loves cars so much. The father sells cars, so he knows all the names of cars. So for me to teach him his numbers, to count 1 to 10, we'll stand by the window of the school and we'll be counting the number of cars. But count 1, 2, 3, he can't. So these are things we have to learn as parents. What they have sent you to Secretariat for, possibly, is that they want to give him a vocation. They want to give him to people, who can give him some, train him. So, and you have to be patient. He has to be patient. If at the age of 35, you want to go and learn how to sew, you are even not having any problem. Are you not supposed to bring down yourself for maybe a 20-year-old to teach you? So he will come home and give you complaints. But you have to encourage him. If he's not consistent with his learning, he can never know. I taught me as at 2 terms ago, early this year, how to knock and come into the office. And we did it for a whole term. How you must knock and enter somebody's office. That was what he did for the whole term. Because we are preparing him for when he will also be meeting people. So these are the things that you parents have to do. I want to ask something. I want to really, Doctor, are you okay with us or not today? You okay? That's the thing. If you have the passion for it, that's how it is. I want to tell you something. Do you think you ought to be here? Who thinks I'm in the wrong place? Amongst all of us. Do you think this program is not? You don't need it. My child might not have any problem, but I have a church member who every time I see the child come to church with the person, maybe the child wants to sit and the woman is like, you are learning now how to educate. Maybe the woman is always miserable. Or maybe it's your fellow woman who, maybe because of some problems with the husband, economy and all that, she's not dressing well. Somebody who used to dress very well, but now you see her come, her hair is not tucked in properly, and this is Yauketele. You need to sit her by the side and do some talking. That is why you are here. I want us to get that straight. You are all going to be beside evangelists to get us to where we are going. I know my politicians are here. They are the ones seated in front. You need to start talking. Yesterday, God did something for us, Doctor. The director of the hall we used yesterday is a Catholic church's hall. So when I met him, I've been looking for you, Doctor. He said, Father. Then he said, I was away in Dublin. Then he said, I said we're having a program. They said, what's the program about? I then I informed her. I said, Madam, that is exactly what I went to do in Dublin. And when I was asked to present my paper, and people were raising questions, I saw Africa, Nigeria especially, we are like 50 years backward. That we have not been having forums that can enlighten the family and support the family. I tell you, if what Nigeria is going through now, we won't feel if we don't know what we have put ourselves in. In another 7 years, you will see the impact of the mess we have put ourselves in. A lot of children will be showing abnormalities because a lot of marriages are rocky. Men are going into drugs to sustain themselves. Women are going into drugs to sustain. Drinking, it might not be drugs, alcoholism. And children already, because of lack of attention, their father is doing his own, mother is doing her own. There's nowhere to put it. You have not developed any extra skill. It's waiting at home, you are giving him money because God has blessed you. It's going to be very bad, it will be a very bad husband. He cannot bear with anybody. We are cooking, I'm sorry for this, but God is there, He will say it.
People help me, and you know, mothers will sit around it and they were always advising her, try this. She tried several things, it didn't work. Then she suddenly realized that they told her that just keep observing what he enjoys doing. He said, I realized that he likes cooking. And long story short, he started doing plantain chips. And people were queuing to buy his plantain chips. This is a boy that cannot go to school, but he likes cooking. In the kitchen, you send him around, he will go. So just with one person with him guiding him, he was making plantain chips and packaging it. And decided and observe him, okay? Because what you have observed, what will guide them is secretariat to what he can do. And even if you don't observe them, it's fine. You may try several things before you find the right one. That's why the patience is very important. Okay? That we should keep checking. There's something that he's good at. He may just be able to be in an office and be helping to arrange things on the shelf. And they're showing him biscuits here, sugar here, salt, and he does it very well. Because we want to make them independent.
A contact where she can be part of those groups. Because the GTD kind of yearly event that is going on. So she can maybe get some kind of interaction. Counsel. What she needs is counsel. Really. So if she can get that contact, then they can say that I know they are receiving the text for the meeting, but I will not be going. But I think she will be, I think it will be an opportunity for her to interact with. And then it's very much
How do you see the program?
I think it's a good program. Mrs. Alabi and Mr. and Mrs. Alabi are doing great work at enlightening parents about the special needs of children, special learning needs in particular, so that parents are aware about what they should begin to look out for in their children that can be limitations to their learning, and also they are aware of how they can collaborate with the schools and the teachers to provide, the proper learning environment for these children. I'm glad that we had the opportunity to talk about common mental and behavioral disorders of children and adolescents that can get in the way of learning, and also we're able to address stigma, which hinders people from reaching out for help when it's necessary. I think overall it's been a good one. Thank you.
How do you see the promo work?
Yes, I mean, like I said, it's an amazing work that they are doing through Promo World, and I must commend it, and I encourage them to do more. They're doing a lot in Ghana, to do a lot more even in Nigeria also, and yes, that's what I want.
Because
the way she handled the issue, because of the knowledge she has gained both at her work and working with the NGO, she has actually informed, she has even gone beyond what we expected, talking to the women. So that is what I also feel we need to, you are opening our eyes to that the women, you know, she has got psychiatry, she has broken that, she has made us to know that having psychiatric issues is not a big deal. That was the aspect that I really appreciate. Thank you very much. Thank you. Psychiatry is no more a myth.
It shouldn't be a myth, and
a myth. It's not a myth.
Adults, children, adolescents do have issues, and they should get help and support. And that support starts from the home. It's not even about the hospital. From the home, understanding and supporting them to understand. Thank you.
Thank you for developing being healthy, and she got well. 3 months later, we went back to Lut, and then we got to Lut and get to see the lecturer. We go and see your normal doctor, and then we entered. And you know, normally they have all their records in their file. So the lady now opened the file, and they said, when was she discharged? That we did not let her know. And I said, she was not even admitted in the first instance. And then she explained that it's wrong. And then she took the whole thing and then all the kind of thing and tested that she's okay. But I said, this is not the usual what. The guy is okay. It's all right. I'll be whatever. But this is a very risky thing. I'm not suggesting that. But you see, the point here is this. When you have a special child, you have to make sure that you intensify effort in getting to know that child very well. You see, before you go to a doctor will ask you so many questions that you are supposed to. If you have the knowledge that the doctor has, you will be able to prescribe things to know the health of my children, getting to know my health. I know what fits my body, I know what doesn't. I don't just consume things. When I discover that she's going the other way around, I'll tell her mom that you have to pounce on her health. So my advice to us as a parent is to try, in as much as you want somebody else to begin to study our children, for us to also get into. They are special, and God makes you special. That's why He gives you that special child. Do you understand? At the end of the day, something else. But my advice, get to know your own destiny now. There's like that particular big building. If you interact with other parents, you will understand that there's a lot of things you don't even know about this child. And that's why you'll be going about it. It's like something that once you know the direction, if you want to go to like a Masha from here, and somebody says you should go and enter a bus going to where you will see Masha. You see, you look at it like, this is the route to, I see Masha, but Masha is here. And you're going like this. A lot of us, in order to solve our problem, we go like that. And that is what you help us do.
I think Mr. Adesina has been done before. I was going to call him to ask how, Mr. Bakari. I was going to ask him to tell us a little bit, but he has
asked my opinion. I expected to find out a situation where we would have about to marry women and men sitting in our midst today. But unfortunately, we don't have that because they think they don't have any issues. I am young, so I know why I'm talking about this. Obviously, most people have gotten to a point where Nigeria has pushed them to the wall, and then we resort to a lot of things. I'll just give some examples. Most of us may have heard of these medications before. If you have anybody using them, let them stop, because they will only breed more of our special children, which we do not have the means to take care of, even in the next 20 years. But if you take a look at medications that people use now, willingly young men are using retinol, which is used to calm mad men. We are not mad, but we are using it. And now you don't use it in even single doses, they use in sachets. You have a husband like that, and then, though there's no child among them, although there are some children, but you're supposed to have a baby with a man like this. Obviously his system is wrecked. what is he passing across to the child? We don't know what the mother is using, but let's use the man. We don't know what he's going through. We don't know what his mindset is. He already has a problem with himself. He's using medications to feel like, I don't want to think of what is happening. But when the result is going to be brought to him, then he realizes that this was not what I bargained for. You see somebody using tramadol and all that, they say they want to impress girls. If you have male children, it's of no use. Using tramadol is supposed to be for severe pain, most especially when you have spine pain. Now young men are using it in sachets. The only thing it's going to bring about is more special children, which we cannot afford to cater for now. So my own contribution is, most of the mothers who are here, please be observant. It takes nothing to know. Once you see your child does not smell of alcohol, do you understand? I'm just giving you some instances which I believe you will be able to build upon. Once you smell your child and he's not smelling of alcohol, but his eyes are dazed, almost closed, and you're speaking to him, his speech is kind of twerk, sort of. It means he's not speaking the way you would ordinarily expect to hear him speak. Know there's something wrong somewhere. And then you can start your counseling from there.
Thank you. We here is trained to teach the students with special needs. Mr. Nathan, what could have been done? What's his name? Chibuke. What could have been done for Chibuke to help him to alleviate the problem that mommy is now seeing? What could the school have done? With parents' support.
Well, thank you very much, ma'am. Well, there is no special formula to that, ma'am. Since you said that you've been moving around, from one.
Before it got to, he's not a 35-year-old man, a full-grown man. So you see, what could have been done earlier on?
Thank you very much. Well, I think at the early stage, there is what we call an early intervention. So at least you ought to have, to have a close observation. And once you'll be able to at least to identify, that maybe your child will not be able to do this, not be able to learn or to do, one or two things. So at least you need to walk up to the professionals. So that's what the doctor was talking about at that time, that the issue of collaboration. So you cry out, you move with professionals, so that by so doing, you now plan a program for him. Thank you.
I'm an educational. When did he start school? When did you first take him to school?
Around 7 years.
So?
7 years.
7 years.
I'm a widow. I follow that professional.
So you see,
if when he was 11 years.
So parents, what I'm trying to get to is that, number one, these children usually start school very late. And what doctors are telling us, what the doctor told us is that if you start observing your child is not sitting properly, 4 months, 6 months, the child says the neck is not stable, that is when you move to the doctor. You don't go and complain alone like Dr. Godwin. If they tell you do this test, you go and do. When you do the test, it could be about 3, 4, 5 years before Mr. Bakari stopped taking medical this thing. They had brought Grace to a point. She has been treated to a point that she can now be more supported by parents. I'm sure there are still some medication she takes that you already approved. You understand? So you don't start. The problem we always have is this. It's my enemy, Africans. Even when you, the parent, want, maybe the couple want to start seeking, your parents, we as grandparents, the grandparents, the aunties will start telling you, you have to go to a prayer. I'm not saying don't do your prayer thing, but the medical attention is important. It is paramount. And it is the same thing for us women.
Mommy, we went when he was 2 weeks. My father said this boy get progress, that we should go give us. We went. Not after the
So it is the money. You were saying it is like you couldn't really have much to do some of the tests and all that. Is that it? Because if you are done and
I said there's no
so there's nothing. So you will know that child, what doctor is saying is that this man hand she's using, this man can even do big work. He can be doing slippers, designing slippers. He can be drawing, and selling. Madam, you will have to do so, but we didn't start early. That's why we are saying, if it had been started around 10, it would have been, you would have achieved. By now, he has what he's doing. So that's why we are trying to, I'm happy you are here. That's why we are doing this. What can you advise women in this bad economic period? This is a woman who schooled her children at home. All their basic school. And I'm sure it's because you moved to Mozambique and there's maybe no English school. Is that it? So can you just tell us a bit and how you can tell our mothers to stand in the gap at times?
Thank you very much. Like she has said, I am Bill Hawalatunji, a Nigerian, a missionary. I work with a mission agency called Calvary Ministries, which started in Nigeria in 1975 with headquarters in Lagos now. And I have been working with this mission since 1991. I was not a trained teacher. Just finished telling you that I trained my children. I read sociology and graduated in 1989. And then I worked with Ministry of Education. I come from Kaduna State, and my husband comes from Ogun State. So we met as missionaries when we all resigned our jobs in 1991. He was working with Insurance Crusaders here in Lagos. He resigned for mission to become a missionary, and I also resigned the same year, not knowing each other. We met each other in the mission field and worked as single missionaries and got married after 5 years. So we left Nigeria in 1996 after we got married the same year, after 4 months. So we went to not Mozambique, but Malawi. Malawi is a country also near Southern Africa and near Mozambique as well. So we got there, agency, so we go to where the gospel has never gone to plant it there. So we were in this place where there were no schools when the children started coming. In 1997, we had our firstborn. We didn't want the children to be exposed to because we will not be there forever. And our children will have to learn in English. So we began to pray to face the challenge. The obvious thing to do then was to move to the capital of Malawi, which was Lilongwe. But if we did, then we will not be able to help these unprivileged people in the bush. So we had to pray, and then God showed us homeschooling. We've never done that before. So we came to Nigeria in 2002 and decided to do a small 1-week training with my husband about homeschooling. And that was where it all started. So we went back and started with our firstborn. We were blessed with 4 boys, by the way. And when people see me, they say, wow, Bilha, I have 1 boy and it's been tough. How are you doing with 4 boys? But I tell you, there is good news for us, parents. There is nothing God cannot do for us. When we are with Him and when we are living for His cause and purpose, He will always show us what to do. So we started with this homeschooling. I will cut the long story short. I began with the first boy, and then the second, and then the third, and I had 3 classes in my house. One in my bedroom, one in the sitting room, one in the boys' room, and then the other one on my back. And then I was the supervisor. So I go teaching these boys every day in that form. And my husband was the principal of the school. And then I was the supervisor and headmistress.
Where are your children now?
My children, to cut the long story short, the first 2 are studying in the universities. One is studying civil engineering in the US, and one is doing information systems in South Africa. And then 2 of them are still in the secondary school in Kenya, because Mozambique is Portuguese, not English. So they have to go to secondary school outside of Mozambique. We have the fear that because they have been homeschooled all their lives, how were they going to cope if they went to secondary school? But glory be to God. They went to a mission school that had about 26 nationalities, and they were never left behind. Their grades were 90 and above in this school. I have good news for parents. Let's make the best use of opportunities anywhere God puts you. You may not be a missionary like me, but from what our mommy just said, Nigeria is very challenging, isn't it? We can, anywhere we find ourselves, or we are challenged with school, we can adopt some of this homeschooling to help our children. And I like to say that bringing up children is a programming. It's a program of bringing up children is programming. You program these children from when they are born. Television, for example, we didn't have it in my house. Rather, we had videos and tapes, good educational materials and spiritual ones that we exposed these children to. They can watch as much as they wanted, but we didn't allow them to watch the national television until they became like above 10. And so the foundation was already formed. And even though they were boys, you just need to program them and tell them this is what you need to do. They will listen. We go out for evangelism for 5 hours and leave these boys less than 10. And the oldest could keep and lead his brothers for these 5 hours without going out of the house, because they've been programmed and taught this is what you have to watch, this is what you do. So children are a product of programming. And when we do that, it will help them even when they grow.
Thank you very much. A lot of the emotional or social, our marriages, the way we carry on, Nigeria especially. Before we got to this level, 5 years ago when I come in, everywhere is Ashwebi, everywhere is party, every politicians were not helping. Retrace your steps as women. It is the women pushing that side. It is good you are here. Career women, you are not helping. It is the work now, we come home 10:30, 11:30. I can afford to pay somebody to take me. There are so many issues around that, somebody taking care of your child. Your child can be abused at an early age and you don't know. What we are saying is that let us be alive, let us be observant, let us look and let us be responsible. Mommy just talked about the mission taking them. They chose the mission. So on their own, they decided to want to be poor, because it could have been better if you were working in the ministry and you understand, you could be more comfortable. But now let's say Nigeria is making people almost poor. Poverty is almost everywhere. Can a woman, I see the ladies of today, because of the kind of comfort we think we are having now, nobody wants to do the child's hair in the house anymore. You always want to take your child to where they will braid the hair with some plenty. It is even a vogue to say run an errand in the house. It is like, it is not in vogue. When my auntie comes, we start to say some rubbish things. Because God, you are putting yourself where you thought you never dreamt of yourself.
We are coming back after the short. Well, it's no longer short, it's a long trip. But then it's over. Like I was telling you about being under pressure that makes one like an underachiever. It is wrong for us as parents to rate one particular child as an achiever and say that the other one is not an achiever. I can be very good in arithmetic. The other person might be good in another subject. Even we have found cases where parents will say the child cannot read. When that kind of circumstance comes up, we are quick to judge when we really don't have a basis. An example is, a father happens to be a teacher and the wife is a business woman. Between two of them, they have always been saying, now, if we were supposed to be fair to ourselves, I have decided on my own to be a carpenter. My parents will not, that is the African word, my parents will not bother to find out why I want to be a carpenter. What I will be told is, that's what they will say. Oh, will that be any guy in the honorable? Oh, will that be a lady doctor? But they never ask. So most of that time, you will discover that we are asking a carpenter to become a doctor. It will not work. Instead of that, we will do a lot better if from an early stage we are giving our children plenty of opportunities. If you look at a child and you see that the child is always carrying clothing material, you know, you play with the child. Can you make something out of this? Can you? You begin to see where the skills of a child happens to lie. I'll take for example my second son. By the time he finished his JSS, he had already started in the house, you know, thinking about making shirts and things like that. You know, just small sewing. If your trouser will have one mark, he will be the one to repair. I said, well, we don't know what this gentleman will be. When he finished JSS, before he went to the senior secondary school, he decided on his own and said, I think I want to do fashion design. So we said, fine, if you want to do fashion design, we were thinking that if you go to the university, it becomes book fashion designer. If you want to know how to make the clothes proper, then you will do the tailoring. So what we now did for the boy was that during the long vacation between the time they finished BC and entering the senior secondary, we took him to be an apprentice with the tailor. He was there, continuing with his interest in fashion. I'm telling you that by the time they were having their graduation, he sold his own shirt and he worked for his graduation. He ended up going to the university. After 2 years at the university, they were supposed to have 1 year off. He spent the extra 1 year again to go and fine-tune his fashion. Then he started his fashion business before he graduated from university. But today, if you were with us yesterday, you would have seen. He is a full-time journalist. He has a fashion business. If one no go, another one will go. But that is where we have problems. So most of the time, we say, we are not getting results from this children. This child is not doing this. I've invested so much in this child. The thing about it is that we need to know the children themselves, they have dreams, they have hopes, they have things they want to do. Unfortunately, when we talk about it, most people will think it is only school, it's a learning disability or whatever. No. It goes beyond that. Even physical disability. If somebody at the age of 20, God forbid, has an accident and he cannot walk on his 2 legs again, definitely we know that that person cannot be a driver. But does it mean that his hands are cut off? But instead of that, the typical thing that we will do immediately is that we will begin to say that he has become useless. And the person is not useless. It is we who use our mouth to call the person useless. Such is the way we are looking. Let us begin to look at each and every one. All these children are there. They need support. We need to understand them. The way we are going to understand grace is the way you understand whichever one of the children. Because grace is a special child, just like the next one is a special child. How are you going to tell me? Somebody who is saying that, I don't want my child to be in the same school, because we had that one in one place. A parent went to the headmistress of the school and was asking, the girl, he was asking, how can you allow this kind of person in the school? How can you call another human being this kind of person? Is that person not a human being? But that is the issue that we are addressing. The parents are the cause of all this. When the children were playing together, none of them said that Talia was different. It was a parent who was complaining that he doesn't want the child to be in school with this kind of person. So, we need to take our minds away from some of this stigma. It is not necessary. As we are all seated here, there is not a single one of us who is not a special need person. Madam, don't you like to be loved? Don't you like to be loved? If your husband don't look your face, will you be happy? That is a special need. You have your own need. Okay, if you know that you want to eat rice in the morning before you go to work, and madam is refusing to give you the rice, will you not continue to ask for it? It is a special need. So what now makes Grace's own need so special that everybody wants to make cinema out of it? What makes it so different? Look at us here now. Inside this room alone, I can tell you that almost about 1/3 of us are semi-blind. We all wear glasses, unfortunately. But when we see somebody who cannot see, that you find the worst culprit in this are the Yoruba. The next thing you hear is, Bodato Dundu. What is your business with Bodato Dundu? The man has a challenge and is trying to solve his challenge. Then you are now pointing it out to the man again that the eye is training the man. If you see glasses for your eye, you don't know that the man has a problem. So it is a gradual projection that we need to move away from. Let us be able to have an open mind. Let us assist every one of the children that God gives to us, either physical challenge, mental challenge, either he has a learning disability or not, because those who make it in life are not the regular people that you think. There is no lawyer today in Nigeria who is going to tell me that he would be able to match the record of the late Gani family. Meanwhile, Rotimi Williams in the area of corporate law is another one. But tomorrow, a lot more children are becoming lawyers. What will make your own lawyer special? That is what we should be concerned about. So that we can gradually be able to groom our children with the right support, so that they can make something out of themselves that they will be very, very proud of. There are some people who have already been written off. When I started, I talked about the person who cannot read at the age of 9. He can't read his ABC. He cannot even read a word or a sentence at the age of 12. Then he kept on going, struggling with all of these disabilities. He ended up becoming a professor at Princeton University. He wrote a book about George Washington. He became the governor of New Jersey, a state in America, before finally becoming the 28th president of the United States. His name is Woodrow Wilson. That person was already written off. They said he was an underachiever. If somebody can become the president of America, is he an underachiever? We have that. We have Branson. Everybody in Nigeria enjoyed his airlines for several years. He came, he changed his when Nigeria Airways collapsed totally. We had Virgin. When he was born, he had what everybody was calling dyslexia. At the same time, his teacher said he was a very lazy person and he was not clever. With all of this, if somebody is said to be sick, that's dyslexia. Then they said that he is lazy and is not very clever. We would have 8 businesses that are worth more than $8 billion from the scratch in 8 different countries. Ladies and gentlemen, that shows you that if he did one in America, you say probably he was lucky. If he goes to China, you cannot say that he went to influence the Chinese. If he came to Nigeria, you will not say it's because he's a man from the East. People in the entertainment. Some of them, we have people in the entertainment industry. They have been going and doing play. Now, look at the way our small boys are playing music and all that. This is the guy, Justin Timberlake. His case is a very, very dangerous one and serious. Because he has attention deficit disorder, and then he also has obsessive compulsive disorder. The two are different kinds of sicknesses. One, he cannot concentrate for a long time. Two, he wants everything, for everything to light up. How do you expect that he will be able to succeed? There are two opposites. Inside his head are working left and right. But then, he was able to win a Grammy Award, and then he won an Emmy Award. Even as of now, for any man of his age, there is no young man of his age who have already achieved the same thing that he has achieved. And yet, we say he's an underachiever. The baba of all the underachievers that exist is Thomas Edison. That means we will not be here today. Why we will not be here today is because when he was born, he was hyperactive and had a learning disorder. They had to remove him from school because the teachers were disturbing the intrinsic mind. So the mother took him home. Then he now fell sick. You get this straight. He was being disturbed at school. Then at the age of 14, the mother pulled him out. Who invented the light bulb that we are looking at? Part of his invention was this movie machine that we now call camera. Another part of his invention was the phonograph that was used for playing records. Would we consider that man as an underachiever? Meanwhile, when he was younger, that was what he was labeled with. Whoopi Goldberg, that is another woman who had participated. She also was dyslexic. Even when she was growing up, They used to call her Dom, which means ordained. That was the name they called her. But this same woman has been able to score more than any other person in the history of entertainment, because she's one of out of only 10 people who have been able to get an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony Award. That, though I don't have an entertainment. This is somebody. And meanwhile, she was said to be dumb, at least. Even at a point in time when she was going to take part in the Color Purple, she was asked to act the part of what she was feeling when she was growing up. These are people. We are only looking at them because they seem to be far away. We have them with us every day. Probably some of us might even be there that we do not know yet. Because this is a wonderful time in Nigeria. Everybody is either hyperactive, is dyslexic, or is autistic. Because it has become a fashionable name to call anything that is wrong with people. When I was growing up, there was nothing called all this thing because we never knew it. But now, it's a popular thing. Every corner you go, somebody will tell you one of them is happening. But that is somebody that we should all know. I grew up having problems reading and writing because he had dyslexia. But his own was even worse. He was writing backwards. You know, if a child is writing to do this, he can make the G turn to the other way. This is so instead of writing G-O-O-D, he will start to write D-O-O-G. Somebody who writes backward and was able to surmount that kind of problem. He ended up working in the TV and radio stations before getting to the peak of his career by hosting Big Brother Africa. He is happily married, yet he had dyslexia. So why would we look at any child and think that the child has a learning disability? I do not believe that there is any child with a learning disability. A child might have a learning disorder, which with love and care, he can overcome with the support of all his medication. And thereafter, we will have the kind of people that we want. A child who is already on death will be a champion, just like the rest of them. And with all of the care, patience, and tenderness that we have, we will be able to groom a generation of young people who ordinarily might not have had a chance, but will become entrepreneurs, business people, reasonable people in the community, important members of society, and champions of business. Thank you very much.
Part of this conference, this 2-day mind-blowing seminar. Indeed, this coat has many colors. And I want to thank the organizers, the senior consultants for Promo World Educational Consults, for bringing us together and educating us on what we need to know about our children. Please, may I ask us to keep in contact with this movement, because the educational journey that we need to know is not just going to be all today or yesterday alone. All right? And we'll also need to look out for more and more trainings that will be coming up every other time. Thank you so much on behalf of the chairman, Mr. Steve Alabi, and the senior consultant, Mrs. Antonia Alabi, and the Promo World executives. I want to thank everyone for being here. Thank you for giving us your time. My name is Nelson Etta. Let's see again some other time. But before we go, let's enjoy that beautiful video. And then Mommy has a little word for us, please.
Please, I want to say thank you to everybody who has attended this program. May God bless your endeavors too. But I hope you've been able. Yes, I know. I hope you've been able to understand conditions that can lead a child not to perform, and the support you can get. And what we want to say is that the essence of this program is to expose you to that support that you have and the process of going by to achieve it. And that this child that you may be seeking support for, you have to have the faith that the child can achieve. If you do not have that faith that the child can achieve, there's no way you can give your all. And you should know it will not come easy. It might not be your child. It might take time for you to educate that person. So it is very important that we are consistent. You need to be consistent. You need to continue to do it with humility and acceptance of God's grace. But I tell you, Chubike will still be somebody in life. From today onward, if you tell the life, all that you have heard here, 5 years' time, the story will be different. In Jesus' name. Yes. And Grace, can you come over here, Grace? Now, you will think this child cannot do anything. I want the other one, please. Can you see? With support, Grace will do this. With support. But it might take 2 weeks. It might take a month. So that is why you need to be persistent. That is why you need to be consistent. There was a boy we had yesterday. He was drooping. You see, bring your other one. The boy was drooping, and he's 11 years old, and you will hear him say, "Oh, oh." They come in different forms. While Grace was seated, look at this beautiful child. Are you telling me this one doesn't know what she wants? Are you telling me this one is not going to be somebody in future? It is the way you manage her. Doctor said something. People lock these children up by a big woman. That woman in Ghana, from her profession, she's the only one that Ghana has. And she travels all over the world. A single mother. She locks up the child. And the child, instead of getting better, has gone worse. If Grace has been at Atuda or at Modupako, being maintained there forever, she can't do this one. She'll be getting worse. That is why you need to let the child mingle with others, and they can be somebody. Grace, I'll show you one. Grace also likes singing. Is that answer? Do you sing? Yes. In another 20 years, you won't see the deformity as you're singing. So let us show them. Stop stigmatizing. Stop saying, a woman saw me, that boy that is the photographer. When we had the graduation at that school, the woman said, my God, I used to know this boy when he was young. And now he's the one taking photograph around the school. Please, I have a niece in the house. She's autistic and she doesn't go anywhere. She's 18 years old. She can't do anything. It is what you make of them that you. If you want them to be a body, you will be a body. If the parents want the child, if the society wants them to be a body, they will be a body. But this one, in another 10 years, she will be producing, and that will be making money. In Jesus' name. Amen. Give acknowledgement. I want to also say thank you to God Almighty, who has given us the grace to be here today, who has made all it possible for us to organize jollof rice. But I want to say something, I'm not perfect, but it depends. For you to get from your man, there's a level of submission. God says be submissive. I don't talk to friends about my husband. My mother can't, even my sister cannot really say she knows, much about our problems. I talk to God, and He does the same. If you want your husband to be the man you want, don't be fighting. Talk to God, and God will make him what you want. So I say that, thank you very much, darling, for your contribution to Promo World Educational Council, and especially Coach of Many Colors. Margufos Interactive is his company. He's a creative director of Margufos Interactive. And I want to thank Mr. and Mrs. Kule Jinodu. They are friends, they are family friends. Dr. Tekaiku, some of us might know Dr. Tekaiku, is a pediatrician and a gynecologist. Is a wonderful doctor. Was ill to my opinion. They did not mind him. They had the baby. He told them this baby would need this kind of support. The man did not mind that. He told them this baby would need some medication. The man did not mind, and the woman. 4 years after, they brought the baby back. The baby, they are seeing symptoms of what he told them. The baby has, is not forming well, brain defects. And he started on his own, trying to teach them how to teach the child. They ignored him. Now, 10 years to come, they will tell you the child is uneducated. When they should have tried to learn how to teach their children. So we say thank you. We'll thank you to him for the encouragement. Mr. Deife, this man, just bless him. This man, whatever he's doing, I say in some years, like I'm seeing my own God blessing me. You were there yesterday. You saw God's blessing that landed on my lap that I did not expect. God, double portion of this I ask for. Yes. If you need, we are not saying that we want the children to be sent to such school, but there are some serious cases